This is episode 203 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 203 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have Haron Afzalzada on the show, and Haron is an interesting investor. He's focused most of his investing career in the Cornwall area of Ontario, which is, for those who are unfamiliar, on the east end of Ontario, right near Ottawa along the 401. And a lot of you may be asking, why Cornwall? What's that? We dove into that in this episode. There's not really a whole lot specifically going on in that town, but it's on a main corridor. And I've always thought this about the 401. If you could find something on a main corridor where people go, you're going to find people staying there for one reason or another. And that seems to be the case with Cornwall. So we went over a couple of different deals that Haron has bought in Cornwall, what he's doing with them, how he's doing it, and what he expects to get out of it. It seems like the strong suit is cash flow. The values haven't been pushed up as much there, nor have the rents. It's obviously a tertiary market, and it takes time for the effects to be felt that are felt in the big cities. We dug into that, Haron's background as a surveyor, a realtor, and then of course an investor, how he managed his family life as he invested in a new city that was 4 hours away from his home, spending weekends away from his wife and kids. Obviously these things aren't easy, but we dug into what happened there as well. Just before we get into the episode, I'll remind you that we're hosting the GTA West REI meetup on a monthly basis. So if you're not in the Facebook group, make sure that you join that so that you can get notified when there are new events. And be sure to check out REI Hot Seat if you haven't already. If you're somebody who likes to dig into the weeds with deal analysis and you like to see the numbers, that's a YouTube only show that I am hosting. Short form content, about 10 to 15 minute videos. So if you're interested in that, information is going to be in the description for this video, or if you're listening on one of the audio platforms, it'll be in the show notes. With that being said, please make sure you hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, and leave a 5-star rating and review if you're on the audio platforms. Greatly appreciated. Without further ado, let's jump into episode 203 with Haron Afzalzada. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Haron Afzalzada on the show, and I know I said that right because I've been practicing it. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Yeah, so you said you've been listening for a while.
I have.
A couple of years now, or?
Yeah, at least 2 years, I would say. I know I've contacted you 2 years ago, just asking questions about lending and private lending and all that. That was probably the first point of contact. But prior to that, I was listening to you.
Okay.
You're probably my most listened to podcast, as Spotify has told me.
Yeah, I get those notifications around this time of year. I start getting tagged in those, so that's always nice.
Yeah.
Seeing people are listening, so very cool. And so tell me about your story.
Oh, okay. So I graduated Ryerson. I have a civil engineering degree. I graduated in 2010. I got into land surveying. So I've been a licensed Ontario land surveyor for about 12 years now. I got my license about 10 years ago. I have my realtor license. I got that about 7 years ago. And I started investing about 7 years ago as well.
Okay, so realtor, land surveyor, and I think I remember this conversation from quite a ways back. You're like, is there a benefit to being a surveyor? Did you say that, or was that somebody else?
I think that was somebody else, yeah.
Oh, okay, because
I already see the benefits.
Yeah. Well, how do you see the benefits?
So when I'm looking at a property, I'm not just looking at like, how can I add value to this, right? Kind of like an investor's eyes. So I look at it through 3 sets of eyes. I look at it through like a land surveyor's eyes, an investor's eyes, and then a realtor's eyes. And the 3 kind of align together. So, investor eyes, both of you know exactly what we're looking for. On the land surveying side, I'm looking at the land. Is there any easements? Can I sever this? What's the zoning setbacks on it?
Yeah.
How big of a parcel do I need in order to severance this? What can I build on this?
So you were doing some of that for the survey company, like the plots, like the building envelopes and all that stuff?
No, actually, I was doing all the, so I was working in the engineering division at my company, and I was doing a lot of the highway projects. So I did a ton of highway projects all over Ontario. Okay. And I did quite a bit of traveling in my career, which is part of the reason why I ended up where I'm currently investing. But no, it's just, part of the process of becoming a land surveyor. You learn all these things, right?
Yeah.
All these different types of plans.
Well, when you're in the industry, you just like hear stuff. You work on a project, you learn something. That's why people have asked me over the years, like, should I, if I want to be an investor, should I work in the industry? And so many out there say, no, I think it's a great idea to work in something that you get to hear the lingo, you get to be around it all the
Absolutely.
time, because then it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And you don't
for
have
sure.
to think it's hard when you find a deal because you know certain things already.
Exactly. Yeah. So then
So you started investing around here?
I my very first property was in Durham, and
Okay.
I bought that with my dad back in 2015.
Okay.
And the reason why I got it is because we were sitting at his house, and I just asked him. I said, "Dad, what's your retirement plan?" And we were sitting at his house, so he's like, "This house, right?" But he's probably about 5 years away from retiring now, maybe less than that. But his mortgage was not paid off, so there's not a lot of equity built up for him to live a comfortable retirement.
Yeah.
So I asked him, I'm like, "Do you want to invest in a property with me?" And he said, "Yeah." And he's always been very supportive of like the decisions that I make. So we got into a single family home in Oshawa, and it was a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom. And then from there, I kind of took a hiatus because I didn't really know a lot about investing or what's involved. So,
Yeah.
you know, when you're beginning, you have no experience or knowledge. You kind of just, okay, I have to save up my money, and then I can buy a property,
Yeah.
and then save up some more, and then I can buy another one, right? So that was kind of the path that I was following. So we bought the property, and then 2 years later, I ended up buying another property with one of my good friends in Windsor. And then from there, the snowball kind of just started rolling. I started getting educated more. I started listening to podcasts more, such as yours. And then from there, I learned the BRRRR method, learn how to refinance properties, basically leverage as much as you can, right?
Yeah, the BRRRR method sort of like, for me, I was aware of the concept, but it's just like, wow, that's a bold commitment to buy a property and plan to do that. To me, it just seemed like such a bold thing to do.
Yeah.
Back before there was any education that I knew of on the topic matter.
Yeah, for sure. I was in the exact same boat, right?
Yeah.
Like, because back when I first started investing, the properties were not appreciating as much as it
not
did,
at all.
especially the past 3 years. It was crazy.
Yeah, the last 3 years were insane. But I think like 2017 was really the start. End of 2016 was when things started going a little nuts.
Exactly.
I started to see anyway.
Yeah. So from there, we were investing in Windsor, but then there was a flood of investors that came into Windsor.
Yeah.
And then we got out of Windsor. And at the time, I was working with my land surveying company in Cornwall. We were doing the Highway 401 project there. And when I was there was no vacancies in the hotels. There was almost little to no Airbnb. So I started running the numbers on having a property out there and renting it out, or possibly Airbnb-ing it.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers made sense. So I jumped in, and then from there, it just kind of really accelerated.
So Cornwall is your hotspot?
Cornwall's my hotspot, yeah.
And you still have Windsor or no?
I still have Windsor.
So you're just stretched from end to end.
I am.
The full length of the 401, pretty much.
I am. I like driving out to Cornwall a lot more than Windsor.
Oh, really? Oh,
For
the east
sure.
end of Toronto kills me for traffic.
Yeah.
Unless you take the 407, but I mean, out of principle, I just don't like paying for it.
Yeah. So same thing with me, right? I live on the east end. I live in Whitby.
Oh, you live on the east end.
So
So then you're
through,
laughing.
going through Mississauga, and the traffic just destroys it.
Yeah. The Toronto traffic. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an angle for somebody who wants to run, like, they're doing that little ferry that's going from St. Catharines across. It's like a hoverboat. So it'll go winter and summer. There would be a market for that, even to just bypass Toronto. Just take me from like Bowmanville all the way over to
Saves
Burlington.
so much time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or even just St. Catharines, you could go from that way. So lots of area for improvement for traffic and getting
Absolutely.
around. Okay, so tell me the story of Cornwall and what you started buying there and what you're buying there now.
Cornwall. I started purchasing, my first 2 properties were two townhouses, and they're literally side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And both of these townhouses came on the market at the same time within like a few days of each other. I don't know why. It wasn't even the same owners. But I was looking at the property, spoke to my wife about it, and she said, go take a look at both of them. So I drove out, saw both. There's a lot of value add opportunity there. So I came back, spoke to my wife, and I'm like, I don't know which one to put an offer on. And she's like, why don't we just get both? And I was like, that's actually a good idea. So put an offer on both. Did not get them. Funny story. But I was like, okay, that sucks. So we'll keep looking. Then the agent called me for the first one a few days later, and they're like, hey, are you still interested in this? The first buyer backed out. And I said, yeah, I'm interested, but at a lower price now. So I kind of took a little bit of an advantage at that, but that's where like the realtor experience comes in too, where you can kind of,
This realtor was working for you, or were you working directly with the seller?
I was working for myself. So the properties were on the market. I was the agent representing myself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an advantage for me as well. And then ended up getting both of them. Renovated them. It was very hands-on because at the time I had nobody there, no contractors, no trades.
How long did it take you to drive up that way though? Like 4 hours, 3 hours?
3.5 to 4 hours. Yeah.
Man, that's a long way. This episode is brought to you by Control and Compound Financial. They teach real estate investors how to multiply their wealth using infinite banking strategies. For a complimentary wealth coaching session or to learn more, visit www.controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines. Real estate values and interest rates are changing quickly, and huge opportunities are opening up in the marketplace. But to take advantage of those opportunities, you're going to need real estate experts on your team. That's why I've brought my first sponsor on the show, Jacob Campanero with Royal LePage Signature. Jacob is an expert commercial multifamily realtor, and he's also the resident realtor on my new deal analysis show, REI Hot Seat, which is available on YouTube. If you're looking to add a quality piece to your real estate power team, Jacob and his team are there to help. To book a consultation with a member of his team, fill out the form available through the link in the show notes on this episode, and a member of his team will be in touch. Now let's get back to the episode.
It was.
To be doing the work yourself.
Oh yeah. So I would, kudos to my wife. She's been amazing throughout all this. I would drive up after work on Friday, stay overnight, stay in the place that I'm renovating, and then come back on Sunday night, and just kind of do that almost on a week, every week for a month or two until the units were turned over. And then,
do you have kids?
I do. So I had a 1-year-old when I started, and during this whole thing, I had another kid. Which made things more difficult.
You must have a very understanding wife.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think my wife would be understanding about that.
Yeah. No, she's been great throughout this. Very, very supportive throughout my career.
Well, you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. And I think, if your wife's on board with that and that's something you need to do. Like, I'm fortunate that I did a lot of that grinding, back 2015 before kids. So that I don't have to do it now.
Yeah, no, it helps.
But not to say that I'll never have to grind again. I mean, I think there's a time and a place.
Yeah.
If you're working on a project, sometimes you got to grind.
Sometimes you got to put in the effort, right?
Yeah. Yeah, especially taking on a new endeavor, right? Like if you're investing in a new city or something like that, you got to do things that you wouldn't do otherwise. That's
the thing, right? Like I knew contractors in Toronto, but nobody out there. And even if I did, you have to check up on
early
your contractors.
Early on, I mean, every contractor who sees an out-of-town investor, like they get the dollar signs in their eyes. Oh, I'll take that deposit, and then they might not show up for 3 months because again, it's all who has the power in the relationship. And if they don't know you and you don't have any trust, you don't know if they're good, honest people. Like who knows what happens, right?
Yeah. As soon as they find out that I'm from Toronto,
it's like,
things change.
Toronto. So we'll take 50% up front.
Exactly. So prices just shot up 40%. But so that's the situation, right? So, checking up on them, making sure projects are rolling. And even with that, with me going up every week, there was still issues with delays and them just not showing up. And
what did you have to do? Were these like a gut or just cosmetic renos?
Cosmetic rentals. Yeah, they're all
new
cosmetic.
Kitchen kind of thing?
No, actually, for those two, I literally just repainted the cabinets.
Paint the cabinets, change the handles?
Change the handles, yeah. Those two townhouses were built in the early 1920s. So they have all those antique handles for the doors and antique handles for the kitchen cabinets. So I kept all the antique stuff. I stripped them down and I sprayed them with a matte black. So it gave kind of kept the look of the property.
It's nice if you can salvage all that stuff. They had the old tall baseboard trim and stuff.
That's right.
Kept all that?
Kept all that, repainted it. And it ended up looking amazing because it has tall ceilings. Properties back in the day, they
were built better.
10 feet
like you find that they weren't necessarily true 2x4s, but they were bigger than the ones that you have now, like the big beefy ones.
Yeah.
Depends. If you go old enough, they were actually true 2x4s.
Exactly. Yeah. So I actually had true 2x4s in the town.
Because there's one in between. So there's what we currently have today. There was one in between that, and then there's true 2x4s. And I don't know the exact age, but like if you go back 100 years, you're a true 2x4.
Yeah, their flooring. The flooring that I have, that property is like an inch thick. It's true Douglas fir, straight from BC. And the guy my neighbor who has lived there for almost 40 years, he actually started helping me in the renovation because he saw me doing all this, and he's like, "Hey, do you need help?" And he turned out to be a very handy guy.
Did you pay him?
Of course I did.
Yeah, okay. Maybe he's just helping you out.
Yeah. So the initial conversation started. He came over, saw what I was doing, and then he's like, "Do you need any help?" And I was like, yeah, I would love some help. And it turned out that he was actually a really, really good carpenter. An older gentleman, he can't take on too much work, but when he does
okay
things,
with that, yeah. Especially when it's right next door, like some people, that's just the right thing. Keep him busy, gives him something to do.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll go take on another project after you're done, kind of thing, because he realizes it's fun to work.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So you build that trust with him, and then he when I had tenants in there, if there were issues, he would call me and say, hey, the tenant came over and this is the issue, and I'm like, hey, if you can take care of it, great. If not,
that's amazing.
Hire somebody.
That's
else.
amazing to have somebody like that.
Yeah.
And
it made it a lot easier.
Did he end up being a guy that would help you out around town as well?
No. So like I said, he's a little too old, so he has a very limited time on how much work he wants to do in a day.
Yeah.
But we started building teams out there and went from there.
What year was that one done?
Oh man, this is probably 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Okay, give me an idea, like price point back then that you were buying at, and for what kind of cash flow.
So those townhouses we picked up for about 145 each. Yeah. And I put in about 10 or 15 grand into them.
So you're in for like 310, 315, something like that.
10 or 15 grand. So I was in it for about 160 total.
160 each.
Yeah,
okay,
not
so
100.
320 total.
Yeah.
Okay. All
right. And then from there, we refinanced it last year, and they appraised it at 250. So I pull out all my money plus a little bit extra, and I'm currently renting them for about 1,700.
1,700.
So cash flow is about with current interest rates, because I am on variable with those two. Yeah. I'm still cash flowing about 300-400 on each.
300-400.
Yeah.
And I guess they're supposed to be doing another raise today.
They did.
They did?
I think it's 0.5 or 50 basis points.
Yeah, 50 basis points.
Yeah.
What was the last one? Wasn't it like 0.75?
I think so.
Yeah, so slowing down. I find that interesting.
They're projecting another one in January, right?
Yeah, they're going to keep going. Do a couple of half-point ones from now on, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like there's no end in sight with that. But I mean, I could be wrong. Some people think it's going to be ending very soon. So that'd be great if it did.
I hope so.
That'd be great if it did. I mean, we'll get into that more later. Okay, so is it a thought for you like to lock in at some point, or?
Yeah. Well, not right now. It's too late, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are at that. Well, it's too late, but is it? How much more we got to go?
I know.
A key consideration now, I mean, is if you go back in time, yeah, of course, lock in then. But the key consideration now is if you lock in and interest rates were to fall, now you have an interest rate differential to break the mortgage, which would be very, very burdensome.
Exactly.
Yeah, which I think was why a lot of people don't want to. I locked in a couple of mine last year, back when it was at the lowest.
Timing,
I'm like, it really can't go much lower, but it sure can go higher. And that was my thought process then. So fortunate.
Yeah,
but this market, it's not very fun. It kind of kills the game for a lot of people.
So one of the reasons why I'm not considering locking in even those any property that I have that's a single family, I'm not considering locking in, because right now I'm looking more into bigger buildings, bigger multifamily, and I want that ability to maybe sell them off if I need to.
So knowing that there's the inverse correlation between interest rates and prices, the higher their interest rates, the lower the prices go. Does that concern you at all? Because I really don't think we've seen the end of the effects of these raises. These interest rate raises, I think it's a 24-month initial effect. Mm-hmm. For each interest rate raise to really feel the effects of it, it's going to take about 24 months to play out.
Absolutely.
So knowing that things are probably going to keep trending down. Yeah,
I think real estate is going to continue to come down. As a realtor, I'm in the market and I see that the sellers still are their mindset is still in the summertime, right? So the price that they want for their property, that's they're
lagging. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a huge lag, especially in Cornwall area. They're still stuck on March, April prices. So it's going to take some time for them to realize that.
I think the real opportunity today is those deals where the seller is motivated, because you can get a smoking deal right now, deal that will endure the next 15 years if that's what it takes. That's what it takes. I don't know. It might, we could be rebounded in 5. There's not really precedent for that, but I think that there's potential to get the insane cash flow now, because you can find something for way less fraction of what it used to cost.
Yeah.
And even though you're paying high interest rates, I would rather pay high interest rates and a low price than a high price and low interest rates.
I agree.
Because all it takes is for interest rates to change.
That's right.
And in Canada, we do this insane thing called a 5-year term on a 30-year mortgage, which is absolutely certifiably insane. and they don't really do that in the States, which is why I'm bullish on the States. But yeah, so it just puts us in a position, but I think there's a huge opportunity right now. Is that kind of how you're looking at it? Trying to see the opportunity, trying to prepare yourself for that opportunity?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the opportunities that I see is, a lot of people bought at the peak of the market with low interest rate. You're buying at the highest price with the lowest interest rate possible. When they come up for renewal, and I think that's going to come up probably in about the next year, 2-3 years, depending on what term they got themselves set up with, that's when you're really going to see, prices fall and people that have to sell. Not that they want to, they're just
and foreclosures.
Exactly.
Not foreclosures, power of sales in Ontario. We're going to see that.
If you're looking at a $1 million house, which is less than the average that the GTA was selling for a single family home, back in February, your mortgage was around $3,000, $3,500. Now with the new interest rate, at current interest rate, you're looking at $6,000. So you're essentially doubling your mortgage, right?
Yeah, it's wild.
People can't afford that, and then add cost of groceries, cost of living, gas, and whatnot. That's all gone up. It's almost ridiculous.
If only people would really, I don't know. I think in our community, a lot of people know exactly who to blame for all this. I mean, of course, ourselves, number one, but our government, number one and two. But I think in the general population, they don't make that connection that they should be angry at their politicians for the spending and for everything they did that caused all this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm on the same boat as you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because will they stop? I don't think they will. I mean, I think they're going to keep raising. And it's like a grade 6 student, grade 5 student would understand the concept of supply and demand. More people are trying to buy something, prices go up. What they're doing with interest rates only suppresses the demand, and it suppresses it artificially. It's still there, but it's just throwing a blanket on it.
That's right.
Whereas what they could do is, allow new drilling, allow, energy grants, like incentivize people to come up with energy, which would make everything more cheap, like everything cheaper once you have more energy. Give people tax breaks to do production here in Ontario and in Canada. There's all kinds of things they can do to boost supply, which would bring our inflation down, and then we wouldn't need to hurt people this way.
That's right.
That they're doing with interest rates. I just say this because I think it's important that people are aware. So if you do happen to be talking to somebody who has some influence on policy decisions, maybe you can give them an earful.
Yeah, for sure. I think the decisions that was made the past couple of years was very quick. They didn't see the long-term effects, and now they're slowly starting to see it, and they're kind of.
But it was a true ignorance, right? It wasn't like
absolutely.
It wasn't that they couldn't see it; it's that they chose not to see it because I was calling it out, and I'm who am I? Like just some dude that talks into a microphone on, in my basement at that time.
Yeah.
Like why was I able to see it and others don't? It's not a factor of that; it's a choice.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Hopefully, a lot of people have been seeing it though, and they're kind of set up, got a little bit of cash set aside for right now, where we can take advantage and. Maybe go buy some stuff for cents on the dollar, or maybe maybe get a couple of deals for half of their high right now. Which, even if the values fluctuate at that price point, I feel like that's still quite potentially a good deal.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely deals are coming, right?
Deals are coming, and they're here now. I think they're here now too, but I do think more are coming.
Yeah. I do see deals right now. I just don't think we're at a point where I can obviously get into one right now, right? Yeah. But I think if I just wait a little bit longer, you'll see a better deal come in. There's no rush currently.
And I feel like there'll be signals like interest rate, they'll skip the interest rate hikes for, several months, and then you'll start to have an inkling. On the flip side of that, I know like on Zillow House Trends, I've seen that in Hamilton, for instance, month over month, we've had a couple of months of gain in average sale price. I mean, I think that's just like volatility. I think that there is still more to come.
Yeah.
But, I could be wrong about everything. I give that caveat to anything I say.
Yeah. Well, when you're looking at Windsor, Windsor's doing pretty good too, right?
Yeah, they're up month over month.
Exactly.
A couple of months
so
in a row.
There's a few pockets in Ontario that's still up.
Yeah.
Right.
And that might just be because relatively they were so cheap before.
Exactly.
Okay, so tell me about the next move you made in Cornwall, or the kind of moves you're making now.
Like I said, so we're looking into getting into bigger multifamily. Yeah. The last move we made was get into an 8-plex.
So you have an 8-plex in Cornwall?
An 8-plex in Cornwall. It's purpose built, all brick. We got into that. We closed on it back in June.
Okay.
We've already renovated 4 units. We just got 2 more tenants out, so we actually just started the renovation on that on Monday of this week. So we're looking to wrap those 2 up hopefully before the end of the year.
Okay.
And then there's one tenant in there that's a lifer. It's an elderly couple, and I don't want to push them too much to get out. If they're gonna stay, it's fine. I've tried to,
like, you're doing the cash for keys things, like you've made those offers.
That's right. Yeah. So initially, actually, when we went in, we usually just go and introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't go in and say, hey, we're taking over, everybody's out, kind of thing, because we don't want to set that kind of tone for our company, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll go in, we'll introduce ourselves, build a report with the tenants, and then be like, hey, we're looking to renovate this building, and in order to do that, there's a lot of things that we have to replace in your unit, but we can't do it with you living here.
Yeah.
So we have to get you out to do this renovations. So you have 2 choices. You can leave and come back legally, and we tell them what their actual options are, or you can leave. We can give you some incentive. We even help you move. We can hire moving companies and whatnot, and you can find another place to live. Yeah. And usually the question is, how much you're going to give me? Yeah. And how long is this renovation going to take? Right. Yeah. So we start low with the cash for keys. Sometimes they say, okay, yeah, that's fine. And
so what's low?
2 months rent, right? Legally, we have to give them 1 month, but we start with 2 months rent.
1 month with the N13. Okay.
Yeah. And then we start with 2, and then kind of gradually go up from there. But you know what? We don't. We also ask them. Do you have any credit card debts? Can we help you with that? A lot of people, maybe they have a $1,500 or $2,000 credit card that they've been trying to pay off for the past year or 2 or whatnot. If we can step in there and take care of that for them, that's a huge burden off their shoulders, right?
Yeah, and that probably means more than just the $1,500. Even if it's a $1,500 amount, just having a zeroed out credit card, they probably would feel better. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. I do have many questions. So one is obviously, I'm assuming you've heard the Kyle Ford episode where he talked about doing that. Yeah. So you just do it up front. You don't wait until they get out to tell them the option. Hey, by the way, since you're out, how about I give you a little money and you stay out?
It really depends on the tenant, right? Yeah. So I don't know. With my work, I think I communicate differently with different people. Yeah. And my partner, we play good cop, bad cop sometimes as well. So he'll go in there as a good person, I'll come in as the bad person, or vice versa. But it really depends on the tenant. When you're conversing with them, you can tell if they're okay with it, if they're they're thinking about it, or if they're like no. I need a certain amount for me to even consider moving out.
Okay. Well, but if you're doing the N13, they have no choice but to leave.
That's right. Yeah.
They have to go.
Yeah.
So I think, I hate moving. I'm sure most people do. So if you're already out and packed up and you've just gone through months of packing your house and you're in the truck, do you really want to think about doing that all over again? Like, you're going to go somewhere, live out of a box for, the next 18 months and then come back? How is that going to work for anybody?
Yeah.
So
the only reason why they would do that is if their current rent is so low
that they'll do anything to keep that.
That's the problem that we run into Cornwall. A lot of the rents for the buildings that we take over are extremely low.
So they'll actually do that, like even if you get to them when they're packed up in the moving truck?
They'll consider it. We haven't had any tenants actually move back in.
Yeah.
Because
I just feel like that's super unlikely unless, you give them, of course the word can get out, right? All you need is for a couple tenants to talk. Oh, just hold out. They'll pay you more.
Yeah. So we ran into that. Actually, there was an investor, a bigger player that bought a 50+ unit building, and he sent out a letter and he offered $5,000 to all the tenants. So this news got out. It was in the Cornwall paper and whatnot, and everybody's reading it. So now the benchmark price
is $5,000.
It's $5,000 now.
But all you have to do is say, yeah, that's insane what he did. We can't do that. So if you want to stay, great.
That's exactly.
And then you just kind of but then you still serve them the N13.
Yeah.
And then they go, and then you offer them at that point. Do you want to stay? If you do, fine. And if not, if you want to just get settled somewhere else, here, let's make it worth your while.
Yeah.
And everybody can win. It's unfortunate business that it's like this. Like, if everyone just paid market rent, you didn't have these people holding on to $400 leases. Landlords wouldn't need to get sky high on the new rentals because they'd be making their cash flow on the old ones.
Exactly.
Of course, somebody else would argue, the greed will prevail regardless. I'm not completely convinced of that because I talked to a guy. He came on the show, Andrei Makovichuk. I hope I'm saying that right. And he was talking about how in New York State, as soon as they did the evictions ban, average rent went up 20%.
Wow.
so it ends up hurting. Everything that's intended, everything government does, it intends to help, actually hurts.
Exactly.
Again, just worth talking about, because again, if you talk to somebody who has policy power, maybe let them know.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through these rents. Like on this building, what do you think it can be? Like as an 8-plex? Like, well, first off, what's the breakdown? So you have units 1 through 8. This episode is brought to you by the Investing in the US Mastermind, hosted by myself and Nick Van Dyke. The event is being hosted on March 4th, 2023. We will be starting bright and early in the morning, and we'll be going right through until the end of the day. There's so much jam-packed into this. Nick, what are a few things that people could expect out of the day?
It starts off with like the very simple aspect of like how to buy a property in the US. So we're going to talk about short-term rentals, multifamily properties, self-storage, syndications, which are a big thing in the US. On top of that, you're going to learn like the nuts and bolts of basically, how to open up a bank account, ITINs, EIN, legal structure. We're going to have some accountants that are speaking, lenders on like how to get a mortgage in the US, whether you're going to get a mortgage from Canada or use a lender from the US.
Part of this will be us sharing our experience, the people we've worked with, the connections we've made, because ultimately we want to shorten the learning curve. Both Nick and I have had our bumps and scrapes as we've gone through the learning process here, and we would love to just simplify it for people. If you're looking for more information, head to investingintheus.com. And for early action takers, the promo code EARLYBIRD can be applied at checkout for a 10% discount up until December 31st, 2022. So if you'd like to take action on this and you want to be a part of this mastermind, we'd love to see you there. Thanks. Now let's get back to the episode. 2 beds, 1 beds?
All 1 bedroom.
All 1 beds.
All
okay.
1 bed.
And what's the rent you think would be at market after you do your little, minor reno?
Minor reno, you're looking at 12 or 13. But when we go in there, we try to make our units the best.
The best?
Right?
Okay, so you're not doing that. Okay, so what are you getting up to for rents?
Right now we're getting 15.
1,500. Wow, that's cool. Is that market rent right now in Cornwall?
No, I'd say for a 1 bedroom, you're probably looking at 12 to 13.
Okay.
The thing with Cornwall is it's a laggard city, right? So everything that's happening with the bigger cities like Toronto, I know that rents have gone up at least 20-25%.
Yeah.
Cornwall, that hasn't happened yet, right? People are still in the lower rents that it was this past summer. So I think that's going to start to trickle in.
It's going to change. Yeah, it's the rock in the pond thing. Like it will take time.
Yeah.
Everyone takes time. The biggest hurdle, like the stock market can change so quickly. Real estate market takes so long for rents and for sales because people take time to adjust to the fact that their house isn't worth what it was. Rents aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
They still think, because there are examples of it out there, that they can get it again. Yeah. So it takes time for sure. Okay. So 12,000 is sort of your ideal best case scenario based on today's rents, but of course it could keep going up and you could be better than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you hit 12,000, what did you pay for the building?
900.
900,000. And then your reno costs, if you're to get it to that state, what are they going to be?
We're looking at about 200,000
total.
Yeah.
And then you have obviously cash for keys. Is that included in the 200?
No, so cash for keys, maybe factor in another. If we do, just for simplicity's sake, let's do $5,000 a unit. Okay. So we're at $40,000 to get everybody out.
Okay, another 40, and then carrying costs.
For the year, maybe put in like 10 to 15.
Yeah. Okay. Now, of course, you're not going to like have the whole building vacant that whole time.
No.
Like you're going to start getting people in at the higher rents while you renovate,
yeah.
right? So yeah, we'll throw in that 15 to be conservative. So you're going to be in for like 115 when you're done. Okay. Now let's run through what your expenses look like. Are these permitted rentals or is this just cosmetic?
I'm pretty permanent.
Like you're getting permits?
Oh, permits? No. So it's all cosmetic rentals. Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't need permits for these. It's all flooring, kitchen, bathroom, lighting fixtures and whatnot.
That's great. In Florida, you'd need a permit even if you're going to take cabinets off the wall.
Really?
It's wild. Yeah.
What about flooring?
I don't know about flooring. I think you can get away with flooring.
Okay. At least one thing.
Need a permit for an air conditioning swap out. It's wild. Yeah. For a generally very conservative state that's very government stay out of our business. That's one of the weird odd things that's different from Ontario, where Ontario is a little bit looser. And roofs, you need a permit for a roof down there. Here, people just do a roof. There is a benefit to it, don't get me wrong, but I think the cost outweighs it.
We probably have a lot more stringent requirements for roofs over there, right?
Well, the hurricane factor, right?
So,
But there's nothing to stop, like, the government from educating people how to discern from a good contractor and a bad one.
Yeah.
I'd prefer that money spent. Not going there right now, though. All right. So taxes, what are you paying on this building?
About 13,000.
13,000. Insurance on that building? Oh, you knew I was going to ask you about this one.
I did. I'm prepared. Insurance, we're paying about 4,000.
4,000. Maintenance.
Maintenance, I put in at 5%.
Okay, that's what I got. Utilities.
So hydro, the tenants are paying except for the lights that we have. So
you have the 1 meter.
We did about we did 1,000 for hydro.
So 1,000 for electric. Do you have water amount as well?
We do, yeah. So water, we're doing 4,500.
Okay. And this is an estimate. You don't have like a full year to.
That is a full year. So in Cornwall,
but you haven't owned the building for a year, so you're just estimating.
So we take whatever the previous owner was paying for.
Okay,
for the
so
year,
you got their
and then we
utility
add
bills?
a little bit.
You got their utility.
That's
okay.
right. Yeah,
awesome.
When we did our due diligence, we asked for all the paperwork.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so then you have a gas amount as well.
We do have gas.
Gas
yeah,
boiler.
We have a boiler. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're at 3,400 for the gas there.
400. Okay. Management, do you pay somebody or are you going to pay somebody?
Yeah, we have 8% for management there.
8. Okay. And landscaping and snow removal?
About 1,500.
Okay. And anything else? Any of the garbage removal? Do you have a dumpster?
No. So all the tenants bring all their garbage to the front. And
is there a superintendent that you pay anything to?
No.
Well, I mean, things could change. Okay, so I'll just leave like a $500 miscellaneous there. So you're going to be in for 1,150 or 1,155.
One thing that we're also implementing in that building is we're providing internet for the residents if they want it. And we're giving them a discount for what like Bell or Rogers would give them. So we're offering it to them for $50 a month. And we're so far out of we've put in 4 new tenants. 2 of them have taken it on.
Oh, so you are giving them internet?
We're going to give them internet and we're charging $50 a month. So
you're just getting one for the building and then distributing it to the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you get like gigabit internet there and then just do like one central, or do you actually just do like coax into each, not coax, like Cat 5?
Yeah. We could do Cat 5 or we can do a mesh network and go throughout the whole building.
Oh, okay. So you're going to do wireless for everybody.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that we're also considering is turning one of the units into an Airbnb.
That'd be cool.
So
is there demand for that there?
There is. So we currently have an Airbnb in another fourplex that we have, and it's been pretty successful. But we're trying to do this one as a midterm rental for professionals.
Oh, this one. So you're going to furnish some of these?
Furnish one. Yeah.
In your renos, did you cover furniture, or that would be on top if you did it?
It'll be on top.
Okay, so that's one possible solution here. We've sort of run it as a regular rental.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Let's keep running it as that.
Okay, so we'll run it this way for now. Okay, so as far as financing, any idea what it's going to be worth when you're done? Because you're in for like 1,155.
So the NOI that I've calculated, I think it's about 93,000 at the end after everything's done, and then doing it at a 6 cap, we're looking at about 1.5 mil.
Okay, at a 6 cap.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're worth 1.5, let's just see. It all depends on when you go back to refi, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So 115, and you'd be getting like a 75% first.
Yes.
Okay, on a 25-year, and by that point, maybe 6%, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's 75% first, you're going to be about a $7,100 mortgage payment, $7,200, and it looks like there'll be like $900 in cash flow.
Yeah.
So then if you do some Airbnb, maybe you can get that up.
That's
maybe
right.
if rental rates come up more, then that'll also help you. But in terms of your new mortgage, you will be in for, let's see, that minus, if that works out, you'll be cash in pocket on the BRRRR.
Yeah.
So that'd be pretty cool. And then of course, if things keep coming down, a bit as you do this, then you're in for a little bit. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a pretty solid project.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the good ones.
Mm-hmm. Of course, there's the potential that some people stay longer. And then really what the variable would be the mortgage.
Exactly.
So they just won't give you as much if you're not covering your debt coverage ratio at 1 point.
Yeah.
Whether they want 1.2 or 1.1.
We always be conservative, so we're
At
doing
1.2.
at 1.2.
Yeah, 1.2 is probably more common than 1.1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes some residential lenders who do use this, who use a DCR for like their rental properties, they'll say 1.1 is okay, but then they'll have other expenses they build in that sort of
Ends
cover
up
it.
being
Yeah, it ends up
1.2,
that's the thing, because they
right?
all calculate their spreadsheets a little differently. Like the spreadsheet that I offer to people, and you can download that through my website, that was based on what lenders would use. But every lender has their own internal calculation. So like when I was brokering, we would send that to them, but a version of that, not exactly that. And then they would just do their own tweaks.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, you don't necessarily know exactly how they're calculating it.
That's right.
But they will usually tell you, we need a 1.2 DCR, because they don't want brokers like wasting their time.
Yeah. On the residential properties, I found that different lenders use a different percentage of the rent, right? So you have like
They might only use 50%. Some will use 80. 80 is good if they do it.
100.
Some do 100, but it's only a percentage of it, and it's an add back.
Yeah.
So they factor 100% of your expenses and only 50% or 80% or even 100% of your rent. That still hurts you in your ratios. The best thing is when they'll do a debt coverage ratio like spreadsheet, where if the property services, it's just wiped clean off of your application.
Nice.
Those are the best, because then they don't hinder you. Otherwise, we're getting into real technical stuff with brokering, so I won't go too deep down that rabbit hole. But it's good to know a little bit about that. Lender I've found to be pretty good with that for the residential side of Scotia.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, they basically do the thing where it sort of cancels out. As long as what does it work? If like 70% of your rent will cover your property taxes and your mortgage, then they just wipe it off, and it's not even on your app.
Yeah, Scotia's. After we discovered how good Scotia was, that was our go-to.
Yeah, I feel like that's like most investors go to for res. And then on the commercial side, it's like, it could be anywhere. A lot of credit unions, a lot of things like that.
Whoever gives you the best terms and the best rates and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. Like once you get into the commercial side of things, you'll find a lot more commonality between the lenders. And it's more who has an appetite for that specific geographic region.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you in Cornwall, I would certainly be seeking out a local credit union that does business there.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Have you found yourself one of those?
There's a local credit union actually. So we spoke to them, but we actually got a better rate through going through another broker that we know, who's not local, to the area. So
yeah, he might have been working with one of the bigger banks.
Yeah.
I would find, in my brokering experience as well, I'd start out with one, say BMO commercial guy that works out of Toronto, and I'd have a deal that's in London, and they say, let us connect you with this department that deals with that specific area. And then you end up talking to them and work with them on that. So, you share this stuff because I think it's good to know a little bit about how it all works.
Absolutely.
Because then you can kind of factor that into your decision making.
It's good to have knowledge in every little step there is, right? So,
yeah. Okay. So talk to me, we went through the numbers for that one. That's great. Conceptually, what about the Airbnb? How's that deal look?
So the Airbnb, we have two Airbnbs. One is part of a fourplex that we own. So we converted one of the units into an Airbnb and the other 3 units as a long-term rental.
So what can that one unit, what is that one unit? Is it a 1 bed, a 2 bed?
2 bed.
So 2 bed, how many people can sleep there in total? Like 6? 4? Okay, 4. So 4 bed in Cornwall, what's that do on Airbnb?
Average for the year, we're looking at about $2,200 a month.
And do you have a full year of reference for that?
Yeah.
So one unit that's $2,200. So why not make the other 3 units of the fourplex Airbnb as well?
I think my partner and I like security.
Yeah.
So and part of the reason was we wanted to get that full year with the Airbnb.
You wanted to see it before deciding.
Perform, right?
Okay, so there are some factors like Cornwall might regulate it, right?
That's
Do they have a policy on it yet?
Not at the moment. Obviously they're looking because there's so many Airbnbs that popped up in the last year in Cornwall. It's
what's the demand? Why do people want Airbnb in Cornwall?
I don't know, right? And
is it that they're like traveling in from the States? Are they going to Montreal and they can't quite make it? They want to just stay in Cornwall?
So I know why there's no availability in the summertime because there's a lot of infrastructure projects going on. There's a lot of contractors that come and stay in Cornwall, but
they have a flight school there too, don't they? I think they do.
So NAV Canada has a program there.
Yeah.
You get a lot of pilots that are coming in. So you have the demand in summer for sure. fall, summer, and
So you
spring.
make more in the summer on yours, like
Absolutely.
like $5,000 a month or something.
Yeah. So that's why I said the average across the year.
What's a bad month for you there? Like what's a slow month?
January, February is probably our slowest.
Yeah, so you might only rent it a few nights out of those months.
Maybe 50% occupancy or less.
Oh, okay, so 50%. So that's still decent. So you're pricing at like 150 a night or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get their own apartment, full, they can cook, they can do everything. So for them, they're looking at hotels and they're a similar price, but they don't get all the ability to cook and everything.
Yeah.
And what would your average stay be on something like that?
Right now, our average stay is probably 2 or 3 nights.
Okay.
Yeah. We actually get a lot of people that are commuting from Toronto to maybe in Montreal or Ottawa. They'll make a stop in Cornwall, they'll sleep, and then they'll continue, right? So
but isn't that out of the way for Ottawa? Because you're past, Cornwall is past.
Sorry, yeah. I meant Montreal and Quebec.
If they're if they're coming from Montreal, they're going to Ottawa, they might just stay in Cornwall.
Yeah. Because to go to Tremblant, you have to go through Montreal as well and go up, or you can go the other way. But a lot of people just stick to Highway 401, right?
I mean, just being on 401, obviously you're going to get people passing through that just, hey, where's the next city I can stay at?
Yeah.
And they stay. But then they might only stay one night if they do that. But you must get that. You must get last minute bookings where people just show up in a few hours.
And you know what? Yeah. A lot of Airbnb hosts don't like the one-nighters. Yeah. We like them because they all they do is they just come in, they sleep, and then they leave.
Yeah.
So you're not really cleaning up a lot. There's not a lot of damage that's happening. They literally just use the bed and maybe the bathroom and they left.
Yeah.
Right?
So how did you go about finding the team to do the cleaning and all that stuff there?
So the first cleaner we had for that Airbnb was the wife of our first contractor we hired in Cornwall. Okay. And she just told us that, hey, she cleans. So she cleaned the properties that we were renovating. Yeah. And then we asked her, hey, would you be interested in maintaining this Airbnb if we were to set it up? She said, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. So we were initially using her. But then if you have a one-person show, if they're sick or something happens and they can't go and clean, then that impacts your business, right?
Right.
So we found a cleaner that specializes in Airbnbs in Cornwall. And we started hiring them. They're obviously going to charge a little bit more, but you get the peace of mind that they have a team. So if one cleaner gets sick, they can send another one in. Yeah. And that's how we have it set up.
And do they buy all the consumables and you'd bill you for it?
Yeah. So we built a pretty good relationship with them. Just last month we had a coffee machine break. A guest came. They broke the carafe. So she sent us a photo. Mm. I sent it to Airbnb for the claim. But then she went out to Walmart, got a carafe for another coffee maker, and just replaced it.
Does Airbnb, are they easy with that kind of thing? Like they don't treat that as like a claim. Oh, you're making a claim. Like they just reimburse you for it.
Yeah. So far, Airbnb's actually been pretty good. But what we'd like to do for small things like that, we'll contact the guest first. Yeah. Right? We'll say, hey,
because they don't want the ding on their record for like breaking something. Okay.
That's right. So we'll let them know that, hey, for this particular guest, I messaged them and said, hey, this carafe is broken. Sometimes you might get pushback. This one did a little bit. I'm like, well, it was fine before you guys checked in, right? Yeah. The previous guest did use it. Yeah. So she said, okay, how much is it going to be? And I sent her the bill that my cleaner sent me, and I said, just pay this. I'm not going to charge anything else. Mm-hmm. And she did. So
nice. And how did she pay you through the system?
E-transfer. No.
E-transfer, yeah, because otherwise Airbnb takes a piece of it.
I don't even know how that works, to be honest. If they're paying you for damage, I don't know if Airbnb will take a cut. But small things like that, I mean,
I'm still relatively new to Airbnb. We ran our camp on it this summer, and it was a learning experience. That's part of the reason I wanted to do it. So
it's a very good platform.
You pay for it, but it's very slick.
Yeah.
Obviously, their fees are pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And they charge the guest and you.
Yeah.
So they're making good money in the process, but hey, that's what makes it a good idea.
They are.
Although I think people say that. I feel like I've heard that they're still losing money. Like they're still not a profitable company.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, how are they still losing money? Look at all this money that they're taking just from me. Right.
Yeah.
All they're really doing is providing the platform, which they've solidified by now. They've been in the game for a long time. Yeah. It's not like they're constantly researching and developing this program. It's there.
It's still a really good idea to not be exclusive to them.
Yeah.
I think for anybody in this business, have a backup. Be able to do direct booking. Get onto platforms that'll allow you to do, direct booking with deposits and stuff. Really super professional.
Absolutely,
stuff. Because you never know. They change their policies one day, and all of a sudden you don't want to deal with them anymore.
Yeah.
And then all of your business is with them.
Yeah.
I've always had that issue with any service provider. Like for instance, QuickBooks, I really don't like that they're the only one in the industry. Like pretty much, like there was FreshBooks for a bit. I don't feel like that went anywhere.
Maybe
So now
not-
everybody's
I
on
don't even know
QuickBooks Online.
FreshBooks.
So what happens if QuickBooks Online jacks their price to $1,000 a month?
Yeah. Then you're
What are
screwed,
people going
right?
to do if everything they have is on their system and there's no easy way to migrate off of it?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. We use QuickBooks Online.
Everybody
as well,
does.
right?
I mean, it's slick. It's really slick, but I don't like that. Like that feels uncomfortable.
Yeah. It feels like a monopoly, right?
It is. And all it takes is for them to change their policies, change their pricing, and all of a sudden what was cheap isn't. And then they keep jacking their prices. I was thinking about getting the desktop version of it because you can sort of accomplish the same thing if you save the file in like a Google Drive folder.
Yeah.
And then you can share between people.
But then that's just adding to the steps that you have to take.
Oh yeah,
right?
it makes it harder. Yeah.
think
But I mean, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. No, I'm still on, like I have multiple accounts. Like even in the US, I have an account and it's like way more money there. It's like $1,000 a year US.
Really? Wow.
I think it was 800 or
Why
900
is it so
this
much
year.
more in the States?
I don't know, just because they can. Just because they can.
Interesting.
Anyway, something to keep in mind for all those people like switching over. The platform is extremely slick. Think about what you might do. Keep records accordingly if you ever didn't want to be on that platform.
Yeah. But it's tough to keep records. That's the one thing that we had trouble with. Just bookkeeping takes
I could
so
teach
much
a
time.
course on bookkeeping. I can't bring myself to do it. I've thought about it. I was about ready to do it. I'm like, do people really want to know this, or do they just want to hire somebody to do it? And
If I'm looking at it from a beginner investor's point of view, I would love to take a course on proper bookkeeping because it's all a learning process, right?
Yeah, like the systems. Like I've spent 11, 12 years refining how I track my books as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like 10, 12 years of being an entrepreneur. So yeah, that's a lot of learning. Things didn't really get proper until I went to QuickBooks. Like Excel sheets, you're not properly tracking the debits and credits on your account. You're kind of just coming up with totals and filing it into a tax return. QBO, it's slick, interfaces with your bank accounts, and that way you don't miss things. I really do like that.
I love the fact that I can snap a photo of a receipt. And just send it to the email and it automatically.
Oh yeah, I heard it does
that's the
that.
best part.
I don't use that feature because I always feel like I hate doing things from my phone. I like doing it in front of a computer, so I'd rather just get a stack of receipts, or ideally they're emailed to my my inbox. And then what I'll do, and I'll just share this because I think some people might find this valuable. Part of my paranoia with QuickBooks and what they might do is like they can store your invoices, but if you ever have to leave the platform, now all of a sudden you're abandoning all those invoices. So it would be very foolish to have only records on QuickBooks Online. So I keep a copy on a cloud drive as well.
Yeah.
Everything goes onto a cloud drive. I have a copy on the QBO for my accountant. My accountant's directly in there. And then at the end of the year, I can get all of my reports. And if I ever had to leave, I could just basically print the reports and say, see ya.
Yeah.
Don't want to, but
Yeah.
if it came to it, we could.
At the end of the day, I think that's a great idea to do it because cybersecurity is hackers are getting smarter.
Yeah.
They're hacking bigger systems. So
Yeah.
nobody's gonna look after you. You gotta look after your own self, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, you always got to take care of yourself, and so just make sure anybody doing that. And there's a million examples of that, right? If you have one property manager that does everything for you, and they're the only show in town, maybe you want to start your own company because who holds the power in your relationships?
Yeah.
Always think about that, and that's a big thing I've found. Where do you apply that in your business? Are you thinking about that? And you're with your contractors, with your tenants. Like, is that an active thought you have?
For what?
Like, who holds the power in your relationships?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Some people don't really think of it that way, but I think of it that way.
Oh man, it's a tough one, right? But tenants are a sensitive subject, right?
Yeah.
You want to treat your tenants with respect and dignity.
Yeah.
But at the end of the
100%.
day, you have to be firm with your decisions.
Sure,
You can't
100%.
you can't become friends with your tenant. Oh, Haron, I'm just going to be a week late with the rent. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I understand, but here's the notice still because
Yeah,
you're
of course. Hey, I got to
you're
do
late
this.
on rent,
Yeah, I got to
right?
do this. Yeah,
as per our policy of the company and whatnot. So you have to look out for your own business.
100%. Yeah. Okay, so Haron, what's next on the investing plan for you?
Honestly,
You said Maltese, bigger Maltese.
Multifamilies for sure. We're actively looking into that. The one thing that really intrigued me was Bill 23 that recently got released.
Is this the Ontario bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
The opportunity to develop land, the roadblocks that were in place initially are essentially removed, right? They're very aggressive on how many units they want to build in the next 8 years, I believe, by 2031. So I think it's an opportunity for us investors that doesn't come around often, right? And if it's here and the government's pushing development, why not get into it, right?
Interesting.
So for me as a land
how do you see that? Yeah, how do you see that helping you?
So I'm just looking at it through a land surveyor's eyes. I'm going to be looking at properties that I can build on and develop, maybe sever and then build. Any opportunity.
So if you can acquire extra land, and I've always thought this, I mean, with the direction things are going, intensification is obviously the angle. Yeah. So if you have extra land, maybe you can't develop it now, but give it 10 years. Yeah.
I mean, now you can develop 3 units on your land, right?
Well, is that anywhere in Ontario?
I think so. I think it's anywhere in Ontario. Yeah.
Because that was the third unit. That's a bill that's actually not from this year. That's a little bit older, right?
It is.
Yeah. It just hasn't been implemented everywhere yet.
In Hamilton, actually, you can build 4 units on your lot now.
If you have enough space.
Yeah.
Like, give me an example of where you can do 4.
So let's say you have a deep enough lot. You can convert your single family unit into a triplex, and then do a garden suite in the back and then
garden suite.
Yeah.
Okay, so even in a, like an R1 single family residential zone.
Yeah. So Bill 23 is essentially removing all those restrictions, right, for zoning. So you have the opportunity to build 4plexes now. You can build all the way up to a 10plex, provided that the zoning requirements are there. You're meeting the official plan requirements and whatnot. You're not just going into a regular subdivision.
Yeah, you can't just go into one with nothing but single families and go put up a 10plex. Like that's right. The pattern in planning I've noticed is they want like with like they don't want one-offs. If you're gonna have 4plexes, they ideally want you next to other 4plexes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to make it a lot easier to get that.
Yeah, permit, right? If you want a commercial building, go next to other commercial buildings. Yeah. And then and I think that generally applies in most places. If you take that approach, not perfect, and then also not advice. There's always going to be outliers. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So I did want to ask you, just looking at the market, obviously you think more opportunities are coming. I think they are too. I think there are opportunities now, and I think there are even more coming. So with that in mind, are you in a holding pattern? Are you still ready to make a move if you find the right deal?
I am. So right now, we're just waiting. We're waiting for the right deal. Yeah. If it comes on and I see a lot of value add, I'm going to jump on it, especially if the numbers make sense. I mean, when we first started investing, we were running our interest rates at like 5-6%. Yeah. Which is part of the reason why we're cash flowing on all of our properties still. And when we're running the numbers now, we're not running it at 6-7%. We're running at 8%. Yeah. Right. Just in case, like we were mentioning earlier, we don't know.
It's a good move.
They say it might stop increasing, but I don't believe them. Right. So it might continue to go up.
They're the same. The guy from the Bank of Canada was the one that said in 2020 that they were not going to raise interest rates until the end of 2023.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. You can believe what they say, right? Right?
Yeah. No. Yeah, and then look what happened, right? The most aggressive interest rate hikes in decades. Yeah. Right?
I mean, the sooner you can realize that they're not honest about anything, they're entirely self-serving politicians. That's how I think. Sorry for those who that offends. It makes life a lot easier once you acknowledge that truth. Then you just say, okay, well, I'm just going to play my own game then.
Yeah. Then you're just not going to be heartbroken.
And I'm going to tune it out. Yeah, I'm going to tune it out and focus on what I'm doing. And, we'll hedge ourselves and make sure that we're in good position. Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. So like I said, we're ready to pounce on any deals that come about. I'm actually looking for a cottage right now. Just for family. I want that lifestyle. I want to reap some rewards of the hard work that we've been putting in the past couple of years. Yeah. I want somewhere for my kids to go and enjoy.
Would you Airbnb it, or that'd be strictly family?
No, I would Airbnb it for sure. I mean,
so in between, right? Yeah.
So some people may not Airbnb their personal one, but
as long as you can like put your personal stuff somewhere and lock it up, and then you can have people in.
So we have a similar type of property. It's a single family home. Mm-hmm. It's in the woods. It's river sited on a river, and we use that for when we go up there. Yeah. But that's being Airbnb'd, and all of our personal stuff, like the kids stuff, our family stuff, is all locked in a closet. So
okay, yeah, as long as you can do that, I can't see the problem. Yeah, obviously my wife, every time I bring that up, she says, no, I don't want people in our stuff. I'm like, well, there's probably a way we can make it work, right? obviously, everyone wants their personal space to stay their personal space.
Yeah.
But there's a little compromise. So where would you buy if you were going to grab a cottage?
I really love the Llano Lakes area, so Frontenac, Westport area, Kawartha Lakes. I feel like Kawartha Lakes is getting too overpopulated now. So I really like the East End, so just north of Belleville, just north of Kingston. I love that area. Plus, it's only a 2-hour drive for me, and I could take Highway 7 across, or I could take 401 across. So instead of going up to Muskoka and just gridlock traffic the entire way up. And
like Halliburton, would that be like a popular spot? Or
it is a popular spot. Huntsville is a very popular spot too.
Obviously Huntsville's old school. Halliburton's like no one really knew about it, and it sort of started becoming more popular.
That's right. Yeah. So we're typically looking in just north of Belleville, north of Kingston area.
Cool.
Aggressively looking.
Oh yeah, so you're hot on it right now. Yeah, but still want a deal.
Still want a deal? Oh yeah, of course, right?
So what's a deal to you right now? Like what price point are you looking to pay?
Oh man, it really depends, right?
You want lakefront?
Absolutely, it has to be waterfront.
Okay,
has to be. That's non-negotiable for me. I don't want a property that's across a road.
Yeah, you have to be right on the water. Yeah,
I have little kids. I don't
want a dock. You want to.
Yeah, I don't want to cross the road and stay with my kids while they're swimming.
Yeah.
I want the opportunity to maybe be on the deck if possible and just watch them play in the yard.
Yeah.
And not be so weary of is a car gonna go by or anything like that.
Yeah. How old are your kids now?
4 and 2.
4 and 2.
They're very active. So
yeah, man, I have almost 1-year-old and he's crazy active. So
yeah, wait till he starts walking.
I can imagine. Yeah, he's into everything. Like pulls all the drawers open, pulls everything out.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly a danger to himself at every moment of every day.
Yeah. And you know what? Having 2 kids is not double the work. I'd say it's triple the work.
Triple the work? Okay.
Yeah.
Some people say it gets easier because they play with each other.
We're starting to see that now, right? But initially, no. When they're always bickering and fighting over who gets what toy. So that happens for the first couple of years.
Fantastic. Can't imagine that. Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. So anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Oh man, yeah. I can share some advice for beginner investors. The one thing I can share is learn how to read zoning maps. Get familiar with the official plan of the area that you're investing in. Don't rush, right? Do your research in where you're investing. Look at population growth. Look at major employers.
Yeah.
Don't just jump in. And some lessons that I learned actually. When you're beginning your investing journey, make sure that you go and talk to the right professionals. So a mortgage broker that specializes with investors, so they can set you up properly. Yeah. Don't just walk into your bank and be like, "Hey, I need a mortgage."
You can get good mobile specialists too. Like say for instance, Scotiabank. Like if you find one that works with investors, that could be amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Carry on.
Let's see what else I got. So permits for a renovation can be beneficial to newer investors, especially if you don't really know much about renovations, because it acts as an additional quality check.
Sure.
The inspector's coming in and checking up on your renovations, making sure it's conforming to the specs and standards, right?
And like totally not advice, but even if you were to at very least, hire a properly qualified designer and get them to, design everything perfectly.
That's right.
And then, that's a plan that you carry out.
Yeah.
Obviously with permits, obviously. Okay, carry on.
Let's see, what else do I got? If you're going to be investing, especially if you're a big beginner, network, get to know a lot of people. That's one of the most important things. Maybe partner with an investor if you can. Learn the ropes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Don't go in and lose your money on the first investment deal.
Take less of a deal. Go be the grunt. Go work your butt off. Because what a lot of people who have the knowledge don't have is the time. A lot of people have grown to a point. For instance, myself, like I don't put in the time to a single deal like I used to.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if somebody could work for me and leech from my knowledge, and do the runaround, and that's a win-win.
That's right. So, do the renovations yourself.
Yeah.
You'll realize very quickly that what you think how long something would take is actually much longer or much quicker, right?
Yeah, depending.
Usually it's longer.
Yeah, I've been surprised in the other direction, but I tend to overcompensate. If I think it's going to take long, I'll be like, okay, I got to throw everything at this.
Yeah.
So
that's about it.
Cool.
Actually. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Where do people reach you or find you?
You can follow me on Instagram, Ness Investments Inc., or you can reach out on Facebook, Haron Afzalzada.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks for doing this. It was great chatting with you, learning about Cornwall. We've had a couple people talk about Cornwall, but not in this much depth. So that was great. And yeah, I'll look forward to staying in touch now that we finally met.
Awesome, Andrew. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. There are a lot of people out there talking about the infinite banking strategy and whether or not it makes sense for them. To find out what it's all about and if it's a fit for you, visit controlandcompound.com/Andrew Hines, where my audience can gain exclusive access to books, podcasts, and webinars tailor-made for real estate investors. This episode is brought to you by the Investing in the US Mastermind, hosted by myself and Nick Van Dyke. Nick, let's talk about why it's so important to network with other people who are doing what you want to do.
You're the average of the 5 people that you hang around with. So when you go to events like these and you network with people that are wanting to do big things in their life, generate more income, wealth, more time, all that good stuff, when you surround yourself with those people, you just automatically now want to essentially replicate that.
And there's so much that can be accomplished by going to meetups and things like that, and those are all great. But when you focus in on a mastermind, these are people who are willing to invest in their education. They're determined to see an outcome, and it's a like-minded outcome with what you're looking to do. For me, that's huge. I really like nowadays how, you and I are business friends, we're friends, but it's not like my high school friends where we don't really talk about investing. You and I, we talk about investing when we get together, what we're working on, and it brings us both up. We have a limited number of people that are going to be attending this event. We only have so much space for them. Our hope is that you're going to have an opportunity to speak with everybody who's in attendance, get to know what they're working on. And that's why we're starting early and we're going right through to a dinner that we're including in the event to give you a chance to actually have those conversations. If you're looking for more information, head to investingintheus.com. And for early action takers, the promo code EARLYBIRD can be applied at checkout for a 10% discount up until December 31st, 2022. So if you'd like to take action on this and you want to be a part of this mastermind, we'd love to see you there.